everyone in LinkedIn world. Today on our LinkedIn water cooler, I am thrilled to share one of my new friends that I've met in LinkedIn land with you. As it is called LinkedIn Water Cooler, this live stream is 100% meant just to highlight new and interesting and talented people so that you can be aware of them. And if you would like to connect with them and make sure that they become part of your network, like have become part of mine, you can go ahead and do that. But also, while we hang out by our virtual water cooler, we tend to get a little bit into business topics here or there. But on that note, I am so excited today for our LinkedIn water cooler guest is Vaishali. She is a senior CX strategist and a finalist for the CX Leader of the Year award in 2023. And she's had a wonderful career spanning over 7 years as a data savvy marketer and product research specialist. All things that when I first talked to her about and met her offline of this live stream really impressed me, and I think will impress you too. Her expertise lies in seamlessly integrating emotions and efficiency through customer experience research, product insights, and communications. She's super passionate about this topic, and she not only delights in delivering customer insights through human centric experiences, but also she's just always evolving and a really great person to talk to. So, without further ado, let's do a little bit of a funky intro for Miss Vishali, and we'll welcome her to our water cooler. Welcome to the water cooler. How are you?
Hi, happy Friday. I'm amazing. How are you? I'm super excited to be here today.
Absolutely. Happy Friday indeed. We're just by our water cooler hanging out. And something that really stood out to me when I saw that you reached out to me on LinkedIn was your skill and your expertise in everything that you've done. You know, you've not only, done work in CX, but it was a journey to get there. So can you tell the folks listening in, how did your journey in marketing and product research eventually lead to that kind of aha moment for you when you realized that integrating CX into technology wasn't just like an interest for yourself, but kind of a focal point that you wanted for your career?
Yeah. Yeah, really interesting question. I think there's a backstory to this. Just like when you're a fresh graduate, I was like, yeah, I'm getting into marketing. I think it's so much fun, and I'm gonna love it. I love design and stuff like that. So I started my career right after graduation in advertising. 1 year into advertising, I realized that marketing's not my cup of tea. It's more than that. But I realized that I have certain skill sets that are required to be a good marketer almost. So I started picking up on them, like having an eye for design, having good networking skills, building on communication skills, learning about campaigns. So that's kind of where my journey began from. And then I was thrown in from one startup to another in the early early rise of my career, I can say. When you're in a startup, when you're early in your startup, you want to do even more, right? Just to keep up to the game. So when I was, from advertising to fintech to education early on, I was doing many things from like creating presentations to design to campaigns. One thing just led to another. Were required to work on building that craft of art that was required from me. Um, 5 years into my career, I was like, right, I know so much, but who am I? I think that was post COVID an awakening moment for me almost, where I was in a retrospective zone. I'm like, what's the purpose of my life? What's the purpose of this job? What am I doing? So I think thanks to the pandemic, that really got me thinking of my purpose and what do I really want to dive more into. Luckily,
Awesome.
at luckily, at that time, I was working for Now Money, a very well-known fintech in the UAE, and we were working on super exciting branding projects, research projects, and I was leading them with other folks. Um, During that process, what I realized the more, and I'm like, oh wow, is that there was elements of simultaneously I was doing elements of design, analytics, customer journey mapping, and communications, operations. And I was like, wait, hang on. What am I really doing? I'm gathering feedback. I'm doing this. I'm doing that. And that's where my research skills led me to finding CX. It was a very conscious decision. I spent 3 months sitting down with myself every other day saying, what do I want to do? Where do I want to go? What skill sets do I have? Created an Excel sheet of my own pros and cons. Where do I need to work on? So I think even though I had an emotion and a passion towards like integrating CX and having a good customer experience, injecting emotions into this process, it was a very conscious decision to like get certified into CX and make it the focal point of my career.
Yeah, I definitely think the pandemic at that time, everyone kind of took a moment to pause and think, "Oh, what am I doing with my life? Is what I'm doing worth it? Is it what I meant to do?" But I find that it's interesting, from my understanding, going from marketing, you started to feel that uh, marketing was more than just talking about the benefits of a product or how great it was and all of that. It was really connecting on a human level to the wants and the intrinsic wants and desires of a person. And if we can create and design products or experiences that really appeal to those natural intrinsic wants and don't feel forced, more likely than not, somebody will come to return to want to enjoy that product, that experience, whatever it is. So I find that customer experience is super interesting because it really speaks to the psychology of that matter too. What do you think about that?
I absolutely agree. I think that's what led me to CX. Over the course of my journey, I feel that even though I was interested in marketing, analytics, everything involves hypothesis, right? But what I really enjoyed the most was um, my curiosity leading me to finding the why. Why do we think customers prefer this? Why do we think customers want this? Why are sales declining? Why is this happening? I think my character and personality kind of really blended into what I was doing at work. And so when I started finding those whys out, because I love watching interviews, I love like asking questions and chit chatting with people. That's how you learn about different personalities, different interests. So I think as a person, I am like that, but also I knew the art and the skill to be able to inject that into my career and my professional life. So when I started finding out the whys, it made me understand how you can make a better data informed decision into marketing. It's like, okay, right, this is the content they want to know on this page because this is what they're expecting. Right? Maybe they're expecting this topic to help them happens. So that's where the injecting the emotional element piece came in.
So that's really interesting that you, as you were going through your, kind of career growth and journey, that obsession with finding out the why, the root cause of why a customer may or not buy or may or may not act on a certain level, moving through a funnel or moving through the next process and whatever, business outline steps are relevant for a company, led you to starting to think about, okay, now if we can do that, if we can figure out the why, how can we infuse technology in that, right? And I think in general, as we kind of progress in tech, we notice that sometimes we see that there's a lot of innovations, there's a lot of advancements in tech, right? And we get excited about those advancements, but sometimes we kind of forget about creating a user-friendly customer experience and trying to combine those two things. We get excited about the shiny thing. Oh, let's use this new shiny thing, and then forget how will the customer interact and relate to it. I know you're laughing because I feel like this is very relevant to you. So if you could give me your hot take on like what's that balance? What should be the question that's asked before we implement the new shiny thing?
I think that that's what many organizations don't do is they don't ask. They just do what they think that they should be doing and what the customers want, and then invest in this massive amount of technology that customers don't want, do not like the experience, because they don't know that they're even inputting in the technology piece in the first place. So the reason I was really smiling is I've been through these instances where you have to really explain different organizations why don't invest your money in like complex systems. Sometimes the simplest thing is the hardest one to find and understand, and it's the simplicity that is lacking in these technology platforms, and that kind of is passed on to the end users as well on the front end side of things. So I feel like in terms of balance, it's very simple. It's understand the requirement first. That's the first thing to do. Is without requirements, you don't know how to which technology to put in and why to put it in. If you know, for instance, your customers are more email focused marketing rather than an SMS, then why would you get invest in a $15,000 SMS portal and dashboard and inject it, because your customers are not going to get engaged with SMS. They're more likely to check their emails. You can use, Mailchimp, HubSpot, which is slightly, reasonable. So I think understanding the difference in the technology that you're using and why you're using will automatically provide you that seamless experience. What I'm trying to say is don't focus on making seamless experience your key in terms of right, because a particular technology looks the most easiest to use, I'm going to inject it and integrate it into my system so my customers have the best experience. No, your customers have the best experience when they get what they want. So the first step is obviously trying to understand that, and once you understand that, explore all options and your budget resources when you're looking at these different options. Other thing that I would say as a third point is categorize the requirements well. So there can be tools and technologies which might be quite reasonable within your budget, but they don't fit the phase one requirements that your customers need. So as an organization, you kind of have to balance that wheel of deployment and implementation of technology based on budget requirements and if I say, and an intuition, I think I would add on, because we are somebody else's customer too. Would we want to, let's put ourselves in that place and say, would we want to use this if this is the experience we would want? So yeah.
That's a good point. I mean, I think sometimes we often think, okay, this seems like a great tech innovation, and it's going to make our process easier. And that's the first thought. It's going to make our process easier. And I know why that's important, because as a business, you do want to improve your own personal processes and systems so that they're efficient and you make more money and you spend less time and all of that. But be careful, because in my opinion, if you get too far down that rabbit hole, you might forget about what also provides value in the customer experience, which is not only being easy, but being relevant and actually usable. If you think it's easy for you, but you've created an interface that's so complicated that the customer doesn't even want to log in and use the thing, bye bye to your business. Like, what's the point? What was the point in all those innovations in the first place? And I'll let you speak to it in just a moment. But, like, for example, for me in my business right now, I'm really starting to think about what type of communication in general most of my customers use. Because for a long time, I'm like, okay, everyone needs to use Slack. It's easy for me. It's great for me. But as I evolve, I'm starting to think, well, maybe just because it's easy for me, there are people who have never, opened up a live stream. How do I expect them to know how to use Slack, right? So we're now trying to consider and think, okay, what is a win-win situation? What text platform or automation can we use so that it's easier for the customer, but still also fits our needs? And I'm not a CX fancy person, so you tell me if that's right or not right. So I'm ready to hear your thoughts.
Um, I think there are quite a few things. I completely agree with you. But when it comes to some of the challenges when you're integrating these new technologies into CX framework is every organization has different CX frameworks. Every organization has diverse audiences that they have never met or understood of them before. So, if I really had to say that the biggest challenge would be is the lack of clear understanding of your customers. And I'm going back to that, circling back to the same point of understanding their expectations, needs, wants, to be able to create that holistic experience that you want to be able to do for them. The reason being that CX frameworks, there's so many, right? Organizations can choose them. That's amazing because they're quite adaptable. But at different on different projects, there can be different CX frameworks that have to be implemented. There can be situations where you don't need to start from research first because you have enough secondary data to rely and make better informed decisions to like jump to phase three of something, where you know what you need, you have everything you is that's required to create customer journey mapping and set up your kind of formulate your CX strategy in place, right? But there are situations with other audiences that you've never interacted with, you don't know in your circle or your outer circle or your community because they're from different cultures, different backgrounds, what their expectations can be. Mostly when organizations, for example, are entering into a new market, you will see that they look for a lot of B2B or B2C researchers to get them like a report and understanding of different things. But what they lack in doing is they're only looking at market research. They're not looking at customer research. That's what you need to tap into. Because when you're doing a market research, you're almost saying, right, this is what the market does. But how do you know that market is fulfilling customer needs? Um, so you need to actually research and find out from the customers themselves. That's number one for me. I think that's the biggest challenge is lack of clear understanding of customers. And then the second one I think is lack of enough budget and resources into CX. Unfortunately, many organizations end up being tight on when it comes down to CX because they have to spare budgets for other departments, other silos, uh, and that's the biggest problem. You need to understand that just CX is not a silo on its own. It's something that affects every different department, no matter even if you're investing in your financial department operations, without having a clear CX structure and framework in place with the right technology, you're not going to be able to use your get the money out of the that value, not be able to get the value right from that investment you're making into different silos. So to be able to address them, I think awareness within organizations is super important, as well as having a CX culture, a customer centric mindset, or an advocate within the organization that has customer centric approach would really help.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting that what you're saying sounds so simple, but it's actually very valuable because if you're trying to improve your customer experience, why not ask your darn customers? Ask them. Ask them what they like. Ask them what they don't like. Do they use it? Do they not use it? We're going over here. We're buying research from these guys. We're going, we're talking to consultants. We're talking to executives. All of those things are valuable. They're part of the process, but like start with the person that start with your super fan customers. Like start with the customers that absolutely are obsessed with your product, your highest ticket VIP customers. Why do they spend so much? Why do they keep coming back? And what parts of the process do they love or not love that they wish that you would improve? And I don't know, maybe listen to them and not like that's the second part, because you can do the research and you can ask them, but maybe listen to what they have to say. I don't know if you have experience with that, but I'm sure that's funny where you like ask customers like all this stuff and everyone's like, yeah, we'll do what we want anyways.
Yeah. Yes, that absolutely happens. But I think at the same time, with CX evolving so much and almost every other organization working towards becoming more developed in or getting more matured in the CX space, there is more awareness. So the first step has already begun, and people are working towards actually listening and implementing them. So I think it's a progress. It's a work in progress, I
It's a
feel.
work in progress, and that's why we need people like you to be continually educating on the matter to hopefully bring more awareness and understanding of the how relevant it is in a certain process. So, and listen, it's also Friday. It's LinkedIn Water Cooler Talk. We're just hanging out. So I'm going to ask you a random question. Okay. This is just a random Friday question. It has nothing to do with work. Okay. And don't worry, it's very easy. What's been your favorite part of this week, non-work related, something that either someone said, did with you or for you that really made you smile this week?
I have many moments like these through the week, so it's difficult to pick one. But my brother did something very sweet. He booked me a ticket to go see him, and I'm very excited for my upcoming trip. So
That's
that's definitely a
awesome.
thing.
That's a total win. And the reason why I bring it up is because as people who work all the time, sometimes it's nice to relate on a human level to everyone, like we take all this time to work and focus on work, but we have a whole life outside of what we do. Something that made me smile this week that I'm in a happy Friday mood about is as some of you may know, I'm quite a Disney fan, and I have a Disney waffle maker. It's a Mickey Mouse. Whenever you put Mickey in the waffle maker, it makes a Mickey waffle, which is really sweet. And this week, my boyfriend actually surprised me with Mickey waffles one day. He went and just cooked them, and it was so sweet. And like, listen, that I'm such a foodie, it made my whole darn week. I'm like, listen, if you guys, even if you don't like Mickey or Disney, go find you a waffle maker, okay? It will change your life. It'll make you so happy. I don't it's a great win. It's a great win in your week. So,
That is so sweet of him. Aw.
but anyways, listen, again, this is just us chit-chatting and having a good time. I just wanted to bring awareness to how lovely you are, a little bit of your expertise, have people go to your page. But if somebody is listening and they're thinking, I kind of like this idea of CX, and I didn't know that a CX designer was a thing that I as a marketer could potentially pivot to. What advice would you have for someone who's aspiring to kind of specialize in the field you're in technology driven customer experience?
Start talking about it. Start networking, start talking about it. I feel like sometimes we as individuals are too much in our own heads, and that's very limited information and a very limited perspective. So when you get different perspectives, you learn so much more. And it's not necessarily all learnings come from books. Most of my learnings come from different podcasts, people's experiences, networking, chatting with people like you. So, we all learn from each other. So take the opportunity to own your own curiosity and say, right, I'm curious about this. That's amazing. But with not a stingy approach, but more like a friendly approach. Reach out to people and learn from each other. I think the community, the CX community is incredible, and the marketing community as well. And so people are super friendly, and it's just a lovely chat. And it's amazing to know about people's experiences from different parts of the world. I mean, we both are in such parts of the world. I'm based in Dubai right now, and you're the completely opposite side of the world. So
Yeah, like
I love it.
it's so cool that you're all the way in Dubai and you're doing all this great work, and we're over here connecting and talking about this, and I'm in Florida 2 hours away from Disney World. Like the worlds could not be more different, right? But at its core, they are the same because it's human based, it's connection based, and that's really what it's all about, and what I feel like really resonated with me with the work that you've done and what you're doing. So, thank you so much for hanging out with me today on this live stream. If anyone wants to connect with my friend and have her be your friend too, make sure to find her on LinkedIn. I'll make sure to tag her on a post. And if you're interested to connect further from there. So happy Friday, Vaishali. And thank you for hanging out with me today.
Thank you. It was lovely. What a great way to end my week. Thank you so much. Happy Friday
Happy
to you
Friday.
listening to us. Thank you.